All right. Thank you so much. Can you still hear me or no? The volume is still. What is happening? Let me go to audio. Hello? Audio, it's still. Can you hear me now? Okay, I think now it's working. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. Now, as I stated earlier about the ruling that took place yesterday at the High Court, there are so many questions that are being raised by legal scholars, including the LSK president, that is Kanjama, whereby they agree for sure that what the court did was to say that Rigathi Gachagua was not given a fair hearing. And in any uh, court cases whereby you are not accorded the fair hearing, it means the process is flawed. That is what they say, because they say that if even if there is a terrorism case against you, the law is very clear that you should be given a fair trial or a fair hearing. But if that one is not done, then it means the process is flawed. Now, come to what the judge was saying about the Senate, that the Senate did not accord Rigathi Gachagua a fair hearing, and they went ahead and still uh, did not quash, especially the impeachment. And some of the issues they were raising, like there is no mechanism on how, especially immediately the Senate actually reached that finality. That is final. Yeah. So it doesn't it is not clear, especially to that. Then if again the process was flawed, or the process had flaws, you know, and you still went ahead and give 50 million compensation, maybe. Why do you do that? And remember, when this issue was brought before the judge, before the bench, again, during, especially in the initial stages, remember they said very well that when that conservatory orders were given, they say that the court can stop impeachment, remember. So there's quite a lot that is in there. So legal scholars, especially those who are lawyers, those who are especially major in the constitutional law, each and every person is giving their version. But because with us here, we are not scholars, especially in matter of law, but looking it from a layman perspective and what the scholars are saying, it means it has created some issues again that will be debated. And as Rigathi Gachagua was having his pressure, I think he's going to Court of Appeal. So this is still very active, and we are going to witness a lot. But something that here they're not telling you, especially when you're looking at it, we want to look at it politically. What does this one mean, especially in the political field, whereby we have Rigathi Gachagua, who is the major political player in the field. What does it mean to Rigathi Gachagua? One, what does it mean to the united opposition? Two, what does it mean to President William Ruto? And what does it mean to the Kenyan politics? So it is getting so much interesting, especially when we want to look at it politically. So these are some of the observations that I've made, especially on this Rigathi Gachagua impeachment. One, this impeachment has tested, especially the elasticity of our 2010 constitution. And what do I mean by elasticity? It has tested the limit. And what are the limits? Are we ready, especially to guided by the constitution, or sometimes our political especially overrides what the constitution say? Because when you look at what happened to Rigathi Gachagua, especially even to his impeachment, and all the accusation that were brought against him, did they warrant, especially the impeachment process, or there were a mechanism, especially in the UDA, that was also raised that they could have followed? That is one. Two, talking about the public participation also is something that also, when you look at and how the judges made talked about the political, I mean, like the public participation. Now again, come to the speakers of the both the two houses. When the judges say that they 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 worked, or they gave the opportunity to regard the Gachagua, and they were working within the framework of law. But if you go back and reverse it, especially you've seen the conduct of the National Assembly Speaker and even the Senate Speaker, you know, because the law is very clear. Both the speakers, one, they should be partial in when they are conducting, or when they are uh, conducting political duties. They should not take sides, especially whether they're taking sides of Rigathi Gachagua or any other political party, and or supporting the government. They should not. They should be non-partisan. But if you look at it, they are not, because one, they are holding their political parties. They have their own political parties that they are holding, which they're still official, especially in those political parties. And maybe those one, the judges did not look into that, even their conduct during the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Because if you look at even um, during the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua in the Senate, I think the speaker has the power, I don't know, to say that, okay, Rigathi Gachagua is not here, so let us give him some time so that we can come tomorrow to ascertain what has happened. And after getting the information that he was sick, they still went ahead um, with the impeachment. So quite a number of people are looking at it. This was more political than constitutional process. So they are making those scores. So those are some of the things that everybody is raising. So just to go to speed, that we want to look at, what does this one mean? Take off the legal, because the legal issue, or looking at the constitution. What does this one mean, especially in the political um, framework that we have, especially when you're looking at the Rigathi Gachagua and everything that is happening? So some of the 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 issues that I've come up with, especially the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua and the ruling. Um, these are what I've come up with. That one, I would say that this one, I would say that there's that power, the kind of power, the power element in the parliament that might be used, because the players in this, when they were impeaching Rigathi Gachagua, they knew the power that the parliament have, and they decided to bring this impeachment motion, even though the process was questioned. So they went ahead, knowing very well that the powers that has been donated by parliament, especially, would not favor Rigathi Gachagua. So that is so this is what I came up with. It validates that the National Assembly and the Senate can remove a DP for gross misconduct, corruption, or inciting ethnic division. Future DPs will have less political insulation. So it means that they've lowered, in other words, they've lowered the bar, especially when it comes to impeachment processes. You can be impeached, especially with the president, if you're not in agreement, by bringing charges that do not exist. But since you have the majority in the parliament, then you can You can be impeached. There's also something that does it define the due process? How does the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, has it defined the due process? Yeah? When you go to the argument that was being raised by especially the Rigathi Gachagua lawyers, they were talking about Gachagua lawyers. They were arguing that Parliament acted a prosecutor, judge, and executor. Yeah, and Senate skipped the 11-member committee to investigate a ruling of test that tests Article 145. Yeah, if so those are the due process. Were the due process followed? So that is something that also um, this impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, especially when it comes to the ruling was made, it has impacted. Another thing that this also has brought into the political play, that this one will impact especially the political of 2027. And why do I say that this one is going to impact the politics of 2027? Remember, if Rigathi Gachagua appeal the case, looking at the time frame when we are going to have election, it means sometimes we will have election when the Court of Appeal is still hearing these cases, or they've not even started to hear the cases of Rigathi Gachagua, And what does that one mean? That one mean that maybe Rigathi Gachagua might not run for presidency, because it is said, I was listening to an interview that was done by Chief Justice at some point. He said that if you're impeached, you are impeached. Yeah, until the court quash that impeachment. Even if you appeal, that impeachment still remain that you stand impeached. So if the Chief Justice was arguing like that, then it means, as it stands today, even if Rigathi Gachagua right now go to Court of Appeal, then he still stand impeached. And that one means the relevant authorities that usually clear you to run for any political office will deny you that clearance. And what does that one mean? It means that like Rigathi Gachagua is not going to run for presidency. So what does it mean for especially united opposition? Yeah. So it means from the united opposition matrix, Rigathi Gachagua is out. He cannot vie for presidency, or he cannot be considered as one of the presidential candidate, especially in united opposition. So that one means he cannot run for presidency. Another thing is that Mount Kenya realignment. Is this one going to affect Mount Kenya realignment? Because from the ruling alone, and how scholars are analyzing, especially what took place, especially that Rigathi was not given a fair hearing. So it means on Rigathi Gachagua, especially his support base, this is like a political assassination. His political career has been assassinated, especially. And where do this one put Mount Kenya votes, or Mount Kenya population, especially those who are allied to Rigathi Gachagua? It means that hunger that they have, especially, still continues against the president. And what does this one do to President William Ruto? One, it weakens his grip, especially in Mount Kenya. That is one. Oh, Ruto wanted to shake out Gachagua from his path, and he has done through his acquired power. Does it mean that Rigathi Gachagua was a threat to President William, politically threat to President William Ruto? Because when it reaches impeachment, when it comes to impeachment, politically, if you are impeached, which means this one kills your political dream, because how long does it take you to come back to vie for political office? Because if you are impeached, you are not allowed to run for political office. And what does that mean to your political career path? So maybe president might have seen that Rigathi Gachagua could have been a political threat in the near future or at the moment. So the only thing that you need to do, you need to take him out. So there's also um, I talked about the realignment, especially in Mount Kenya. How is political realignment, especially going to be in Mount Kenya? There are those who are going to align with Rigathi Gachagua, and that anger that they have will also be a driving factors to the ballot box. So when you're talking about voting, how will they vote? Will they vote for leaders who they feel can uh, uh, assist them to transform the region, or they are going to especially to vote leaders out based on anger and emotions, especially for those who are coming from Mount Kenya who participated in the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua? How are they going to navigate, especially if they have ambition to run for political office in Mount Kenya? Will they especially make it? Will people vote for them? So this is what especially what the ruling has caused. So there's also this angle that people are looking at, creates a vacuum. Does it mean that that grip that Rigathi Gachagua was holding now is going to run out of him? So it's going to create that vacuum whereby young leaders like Ndini Nyoro can come in and inherit that as um, uh, as somebody to be a spokesperson of Mount Kenya, uh, based on the judgment that was done to um, Rigathi Gachagua, the impeachment being upheld by the High Court. Yeah. So how is that one going to play? Who is going to come out, especially to be vocal to the Mount Kenya that people will say that this is our kingpin, the political kingpin that we always know or we always talk about, especially in Mount Kenya. Politically, Gachagua surprised President William Ruto. True, because remember when Gachagua was being impeached or during that process of impeachment, Gachagua was given 2 weeks, especially after 2 weeks, Gachagua would go home to Wamunyoro, and that could be the end of Rigathi Gachagua. But remember, since impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua and still today, Gachagua has remained relevant in the political field, depending on how you view his political art, even by naming him the chief tribal, even by naming him the shareholders, all kind of the political names that you keep on especially they keep on being baptized or you keep on being called, but he has maintained that momentum. Remember, uh, immediately after impeachment, Rigathi Gachagua picked himself up and he learned his lesson. And what was the first step that he did? He decided to form his political party. And what was the reason of forming political party? Because during his impeachment, he did not have grounds. He did not have a political party because he was elected in UDA. He did not have foot soldiers, especially. Majority of Mount Kenya MPs actually did not support him during that time. So he had a few, and he had to go. Remember, the ODM had to be invited, especially to join in impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. And do you think by ODM legislators agreeing to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, did it? Was it their free will? Was a political, and come to realize that Gachagua was a national disaster, so that would, let's now agree with UDA to impeach Rigathi Gachagua, knowing very well that back then, for few, they've been protesting about the government, especially they said that this government was not a government that actually for the people, because they question uh, how they came into power. Yeah. Remember, right now, they're not questioning that. Yeah, they're not even asking for opening of the server so that they can know how many votes did the late Raila Amolo Odinga got, and the President William Ruto. So that's the political interest. So that's what Gachagua saw, and he decided to come with his own political party. And this one will give him a bargaining power, especially when it comes to national platform, especially coalition. What are you going to give me? I'm bringing this amount of votes. In return, what am I having in the coalition? So that is something that also we have to look at. So we are looking at the vacuum, especially in Mount Kenya. Is there a vacuum? Yeah, and how is this one also going to work with the President uh, Ruto? I mean, sorry, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, because like President Uhuru Kenyatta still has a voice in Mount Kenya. So as Rigathi Gachagua still fighting the battles of impeachment, going to Court of Appeal, will he also still be able to hold the mountain? Okay, let me see what is happening. Kindiki, Uhuru, and Gachagua will have to negotiate something for the development of the mountain. The three might put politics behind. Is equivalent to what happened in Nyanza with Gladys Wanga and the core. So when let's say like if they decided to put their difference aside, where are they going to support? Are they going to support the government of the day, or they will support alternative government with the hope that, okay, if we win the next government, or if uh, another government or another administration come into place, we have to negotiate for our development, or they're going to go with the government of President William Ruto. So that is also something that okay, let me see. The voting in the mountain will be tricky because it might be a protest vote. Protesting against who? Will they be protesting against President William Ruto and UDA, or they will be protesting against Rigathi Gachagua? You know, are they where are they going to protest? For instance, when you look at some cases whereby people vote, it comes like you want to punish somebody for wrong decision, or you want to punish a leader for wrong decision that they made. So what do? We have to protest. We come up in large numbers and vote that leader out, or we come up in large numbers and vote the leaders that are associated with that particular leader. That is yeah. So maybe if the protest, let's say if you're talking about the protest, they will be protesting against the administration of President William Ruto, or they will be protesting against the leaders who impeached Rigathi Gachagua. So again, there's also this that people say that this um, court case, especially the ruling that was done, it hurts President William Ruto more than uh, any other person. Because remember, President William Ruto is running for the second time. He wants his second term in office. And if you look at the people who voted, especially President William Ruto in the last general election, especially the good number of percentage actually came from Mount Kenya. And with all this happening, it means he cannot actually get the same number that he got last year. So this one is hurting him politically. So it means that for President William Ruto to replace, especially the numbers that he got from Mount Kenya, he has to work with other regions, to be friendly to other regions, and that's why you see is so much friendly with the Nyanza. He's also wooing the Western, is in the Northeastern. So he's looking on how can I balance, especially the vote from Mount Kenya that I'm not sure of, or I'm sure of this percentage. So how can I balance them off? Because in terms of getting votes from there, this thing's hurting him, or especially when you're looking in terms of him getting votes. So how is he going to balance that? So that is when you look at what is going to happen in Mount Kenya. We are talking about the vacuum. We are talking about hurting President William Ruto politically, especially when it comes to votes. So now let's focus on united opposition. How is this one the ruling, especially, going to uh, affect or going to help united opposition? There are two ways. One, I think um, this ruling or whatever has happened can unify the united opposition. It can be like a unifying factor. Yeah. And how can it be a unifying factor? It's going to be a unifying factor because um, you know, when you look at the united opposition, uh, Kalonzo Musyoka and the rest of the united opposition, it's only Gachagua who seems to be having muscles, especially even to respond to President William Ruto, you know. And by him now uh, not having an opportunity, especially to run for presidency, it makes it easier for united opposition and say that, okay, he's not going to run. Let's unite and get Rigathi support, And this, that fear that they have, because I know in their circles, I think there's this fear that they might be having against Rigathi Gachagua. So that one is a unifying factor. Two, it can also break the united opposition. And how can it break united opposition? You look at it in terms of uh, political interest. Yeah, you look at the political interest because uh, if you look at the united opposition, from the look of things, Rigathi Gachagua tend to command. Okay, let me see. Do you think Kindiki will be able to convince the mountain without help of Gachagua and Uhuru? They have to sit around. Yes. So if they have to sit around, where will they want their vote to go? Do you think, especially that after all this, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Kindiki can convince Rigathi Gachagua, okay, let's find a way of making sure that the mountain get development, and let's rally our support for President William Ruto. Do you think that one can happen? They shut their differences and say that for the sake of Mount Kenya, let's come together and support President William Ruto. Can that one be possible? Mm? Can it be possible? Okay. So I was talking about opposition could unify easier. They can unite very easier. Mm? Mm-hmm. So because in united opposition, okay, in Kenya is possible. True. Yeah, and that's why sometimes in Kenya, especially when you're supporting the leaders, just make sure that you offer them your support, but you don't go to that extreme that you decide to injure your neighbor just because, or to create harm to your neighbor just because you love our president. I can remember when you look at the history, especially Raila Odinga, the art of politics of the late Raila Amolo Odinga, and this one I keep on saying, there's no any other politician who can play that. He knew the art of playing politics, especially in Kenya. One, Raila knew very well that he had a big support base, and that was his strength. And he could bargain with that strength either way. You know, Raila was only the opposition leader who enjoyed both the opposition benefit and the government benefit. And there's no any other politician who can play that. Tell me of any politician, even right now, Kalonzo Musyoka and the politicians that we have, that you think can play that. Yeah. in 2007, after all that chaotic and shambolic election, President Kibaki worked with Raila. Raila later came and worked with President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. So, and when he used to work with them, yeah, he used to have a say in the government. Yeah, yeah. Remember, it's only Raila that a sitting CS is a position leader, but a sitting CS would go to Capitol Hill to see Raila. A sitting governor, especially when the impeachment inakuja pale Senate, ataenda aone Raila. Look at even what happened when they wanted to impeach Sakaja. What happened? Yeah, Sakaja had to go to visit Raila. And what happened? He was not impeached. I can also remember when Anne Waiguru, the impeachment of Anne Waiguru was coming, yeah, and she went to Capitol Hill. What happened? So tell me of any politician right now who can do that. So talking about the political interest where everything is possible, it is true. You know, even right now, United Opposition, even if Rigathi Gachagua will not be running, and he has decided that he's going to offer support, he cannot offer that support blindly. You know, yeah, I'm not sorry for Gachagua because he's the one who helped Ruto to steal election. Wacha jue mchimba kisima atumbukia mwenyewe. I just pity Kenyans. Yeah, even today at his presser. So that is what he said, that I'm the person who assisted President William Ruto to be the president, and he's going to marshal law. He's going to make sure that he uh, mobilize up to around 10 million votes to make sure that President William Ruto go home. That is Rigathi Gachagua. So, so that is what is happening, and I don't know how, especially how the how the how the Mount Kenya are reacting, especially after this. I don't know. Hey, Makubura, how are you doing?
Good evening.
Mm.
Niko salama nashukuru.
Yes, habari gani?
Uh, nashukuru. Nimekuwa na Nairobi, life is hectic as usual. Can't
Eh,
predict what is going to happen next.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So nimefika late kidogo, lakini ndo huyu mimi.
Sijui kama unaweza share link to Msimamo, naona anaitisha link pale.
Okay.
You know, Makubura, I was just having a conversation about what happened yesterday, especially the High Court, especially upheld the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. But there's one issue here that the legal scholars are having different opinion. One, there are two. I mean, there's compensation of 50 million that was awarded by the bench, and at the same time, the bench was saying that the Senate did not give Rigathi a fair hearing. So my question to you is one: do you think Senate can go to Court of Appeal, especially so that they can make correction of that?
Okay. First, allow me to just give my general take on it first before before I answer that. And I can see our good friend Gitonga. Sijui alipotelea wapi. I
Wachana
can
na
see him around.
Gitonga, hata sijui amepotea, anakuja pole, akikuja akipotea tena.
Yeah, so we are happy to see him. It's been a while. I've also seen Judith and Iho together with Msimamo over here.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so let me give my general view. This is one of the most constitutional test of
Mm,
time. These are the tests that we've been seeing. The Republic of Kenya, since the amalgamation of this particular constitution in 2010,
mhm,
we've never had instances where this particular constitution is being tested to this extent that we are seeing.
mm,
And what worries me is, the judges really has a lot. They has a lot in terms of the interpretation and ensuring that the law and whatever is in constitution is adhered to. But sometimes it really worries me when some judgments are made contrary to the previous cases or what is in the constitution. And for example, this issue of regarding Gachagua, from my understanding, based on the little knowledge that I have in law and the judgment that was read by these particular judges, they said that there was no fair hearing, and they admitted to that. That in its own way, one of the most fundamental things about the rights of uh, Kenyans is one, especially when they're taken before the court of law, is fair hearing. Fair hearing is one of the most fundamental reasons that can make a case to be dismissed. And it worries me when the judges comes clear and say that, he was not given a fair hearing, and they admit to that fact. And they go ahead to say that the whole process is final and there's nothing they can do about it. And then they come out to say that we are going to award him, a certain amount of money. That worries me because it tells you that there's something that might have happened behind the scene, contrary to the beliefs and the expectations of the people of Kenya, based on the pronouncement that they did make prior to the final decision that they arrived at. So I think personally, I'm not a supporter of Rigathi Gachagua, but I've always said, and I will still say that Rigathi Gachagua was not given a fair time to give his view or his part of what he knew about the accusations that were presented before the parliaments, the bilateral parliaments. And it was clearly confirmed that fair hearing was not given to him. That should have been the main reason of them partly dismissing. But the good thing that Rigathi Gachagua had also done was he was very specific. He was not requesting that the ruling be made in a way that he be returned as the deputy president. He was very clear in his petitions that the only thing he wanted was justice. So either way, him being given a fair judgment would really have mattered here, even if there's a lot of questions that are arising, and some of it are coming from the legal people and the judges. They're saying that their hands were partly tied because they would not have made a decision where they would say that Rigathi Gachagua would be was in a way not given his right by being removed or impeached. But well, look at this. He was very specific. He did not want to be reinstated as the deputy president. So the best thing these judges would have done, they are experts in that particular level, is simply serve him his justice as the law and the constitution of the Republic of Kenya says. Because whatever is currently happening, we've always had reviews of cases or references of cases. What is currently at hand is really going to hurt the cases that are going to the future cases that are going to come, because this one would be used as a reference. So in this instance where somebody has not been served justice and another case similar to this comes, what will people get justice going forward? You've had not once all these laws and part of the rulings that are always given, there is always a reference to the previous cases. So if a judge is presented or something of this nature is presented before the judge, how will they come out of it? And remember, even if such cases gets to that level, somebody will simply appeal and say that in reference to what had happened previously, this and this was not served. So my take in this particular whole thing is justice is one important thing, and it should be given to everyone, whether you are a big person or you're a small person. Fair hearing is one of the most important things that every person, according to what the Kenyan constitution speaks about, it should be given or rendered to everybody without favor or fear. That would be my take on that particular move. And I can also say that I've seen quite a number of lawyers, both from the sides of the government and the side of Rigathi Gachagua. They're all giving their version of how they understand this particular ruling. But to me, I can only say that as things still stand, Rigathi Gachagua still has a chance to appeal. And if he does so, the only question that Kenyans are currently asking is, will he get the justice? Will he find the right judges who will then determine this particular case? Because based on what we've seen a lot of inconsistency in the sense that there is no following of law. There's a lot of confusion in part of the judgment that was issued, and this is coming about by based on the statement that part were made by these particular judges. So that inconsistency, and again not following the law, is part of the things that will cause injustice and make it tougher for the people of Kenya to experience what they have always wanted to experience in this particular constitution, and whenever justice is being served to them. That would be my take. And one thing that maybe I can also add is I saw the side of the government, particularly Professor Ojienda, saying that that the judges had nothing to do because that would have placed the country in a different perspective, or in a quagmire or something like that. But to me, I think the right of fair hearing and the right of giving justice is the most fundamental. The other things can be looked into. Well, we understand that the state, of course, cannot operate in such a situation where the country would probably maybe have two deputy presidents. But all these things are part of the things that are supposed to be put in consideration, because in instances where people are not being given justice, that particular thing would make it tough for the people who are going to come forth in future giving similar or having or going through or administering justice in an environment similar to what we are seeing. There's a lot of accusation of people saying that probably there was maybe interference from the state. It could be true. It could be true. Ours is just to wait and see and maybe leave to that other team that is tasked by that particular, the interested party of that particular case, to look into it. I have seen quite a number of lawyers, including Nelson Harvey, saying that that was not fair. It shows a lot of inconsistency within the judiciary. And he also reminded of the fact that he has always had problems with certain judges. And that then brings he then reminded the people of Kenya of the many times that he has been fighting or trying to come out to do or to clean the judges, the judiciary, with these cases that he has been following up on. I also saw Ahmed Nasir, senior counsel, also giving his take on the same. And most of them, Kanjama, the LSK president, also coming out to say that, well, as much as they are not supporting that, but as professionals, as legal as legal or learned friends, they're saying, and they're very particular that that was not right. It simply exposes the negativity and the bad faith or the bad behavior that is happening, things that are happening within the judiciary. And I can say that it is not fine, it is not good, it is not nice at this particular extent, where in the same judiciary we've ever had the Chief Justice Emeritus, David Maraga, who, without fear or contradiction, went ahead to serve justice at a time where people had believed that there was no justice that would be rendered in this particular land. So, how I wish we had a judiciary that would be keen enough and without looking into other things would follow the law and give justice to the people of Kenya without looking at their status or how powerful they are. That would be my take. You are muted.
Thank you so much, Makobura, for your contribution, and it is something that actually the layman and everybody is. My volume again is low, Makobura.
I think I can hear you on my hand.
I think today I think I have a problem with my volume. Yes. So before I give in Musimamu, what is killing us, especially as a country, is about interest. Because when such ruling are made, they're landmark ruling, and you find that there are some other countries that might use them for their cases, especially when they're arguing their legal cases in other countries. But when we reach a situation whereby uh, today, today, if you're very keen, and that's why I tell, like, sometimes Kenyans, we are not very genuine with ourselves. Today, when the ruling was made, yesterday when the ruling was made, they were looking at it like it was for Rigathi Gachagua. This ruling was Rigathi Gachagua. It was a big blow to Rigathi Gachagua. And that's why they were celebrating. But they were not looking at what precedent does it test in the country, or does it put in the country. And some people were arguing, especially the supporter of Raila Amolo Odinga, that Rigathi now can feel what Raila felt. you know so we as a country, sometimes we justify things that are very wrong, you know but we're not looking at how can we solve, so that next time when such cases arises, the judgment that is made should be a judgment that satisfies everybody. Because, like, when you go for a ruling, one thing that we have to agree, in law, there will be no day, or there will be no time where people will have a win-win situation. But
Brother Ben, you know that whatever, allow me to just add this, whatever you said is the right and the truthful thing. And that is
mm,
why the only fear that I have and other Kenyans have is this is going to be reviewed.
mm,
This is going to be used as reference.
mm,
Are we going to get justice in the near future when such cases would be presented? The
mm,
state would use this particular judgment. I mean, the state might have that opportunity to, to twin the answer of some particular judges to make similar judgments in future, and this is going to go. This will go against,
mm.
the constitution. It will go against. Actually, it will bring forth this issue of democracy that Kenyans have been yearning. Kenyans are fighting for democracy. They are going to use it to kill the democracy in the
Yeah.
Republic of Kenya. So we should not, as a people, we should not entertain this at this particular moment.
Okay, thank you so much. And the majority of people, before I invite in my good friend, majority of people are looking at this. It is that this was a very big blow to Rigathi Gachagua, because yes, it was part of the judgment, or it was a part of the case of the impeachment. But the president that is being set, especially in our courts, whereby if our courts are going to be safe havens for settling political scores, especially, that is going to be bad. And I was bringing this issue when I saw quite a number of people were celebrating on how the ruling was made against Raila Odinga, and say that this is now Rigathi Gachagua can feel what Raila Odinga felt. Instead of looking at why should we, especially if Raila lost in the courts, because maybe the evidence that was provided were not enough to convince the judges, that is okay. Yeah. Yeah. The lawyers did not do a good job. But if he lost because somebody wanted to finish him politically, or there are judges who are being used to finish him politically, now, what precedent have we set, especially even in laws? Remember, when Raila Odinga was the last presidential petition, you remember when the ruling was being read by the Chief Justice, some of the literatures that the Chief Justice used on the case of the petition Raila Odinga versus President William Ruto, they were not found, they are not supposed to be in any ruling, the words, and he would tell you that this was not a fair, especially the wording, I would say the literature that was used, and even people question that. There are people who have lost cases and they've agreed that we've lost through your judges and say that we tried our best, and they're very, very happy that they've lost the cases, and they go ahead and go for appeal, until they exhaust all the avenues that are provided within the Constitution. This are being done not only to get compensation, but also to expand the judicial and make sure that the rulings that are made are sufficient enough to convince everybody. So it should not be a political grounds, especially or for political assassination of any character of somebody, or where you want to go settle your political score, maybe because maybe you have an upper hand. So if we do it like that, then I don't think we are headed anywhere. Msimamo.
Asante ndugu yangu Aben na ndugu yangu Mark. Mimi sina mengi, niwasalimia ndugu zangu pale upande wa comment section. Kwa hili nafikiri jana nilizungumza sana, na bila shaka wameuzuka umetoka ule ambao ni kamba tulitabiri. So sometimes unakuta kwamba kosa na kosa halileti suluhu, kosa na kosa halileti suluhu. Kwa hiyo tukifurahikia kwamba huyu kashaumana na yeye pia, kwa sababu kuna mwingine alipitia hali kama hii na pia asikie, bado halijapata suluhu. Umeelewa? Kosa na kosa, uongo halileti suluhu. Huwezi fanya kosa na wewe ufanye kosa tuseme kutakuwa kuna suluhu hapa. Kwa hiyo furaha ile ya wale ambao wanafurahikia kwamba huyu jamaa ni vizuri, sawa, fine, lakini tunanyunyuzia huu mzizi wa mahakama zetu kufanya ile kazi ambayo inapaswa kuifanya kama tume huru, ili kuepukana na mwingiliano wa siasa ndani yake, kwa sababu hiki ni chombo ambacho kingejitenga, tunafaa kijitenge mbali na siasa kwa ajili ya kuweza kulielekeza taifa katika njia ambayo ni sawa zaidi. Lakini unakuta kwamba ukitazama hii kesi ya Gachagua kwa kweli muda
Msimamo
wa
amepotea,
kidogo mno, yani kiasi kwamba
volume yake imeenda juu, naona the volume is showing.
Namsikiza on my
unanipata
side.
kweli
Makobura,
Namsikiza. I can hear
can you
you.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
No, I think there's Msimamo anaongea kweli?
Yes.
Okay, sikukuwa namsikia.
Msimamo, proceed. Okay, I think Brother Ben is having a problem with his internet, and maybe as he's fixing it, Msimamo, you can come and proceed.
Kwa hiyo unanipata sasa?
Nakusikiza.
yeah. Kwa
You
hiyo
see,
unakuta kwamba kiukweli, kiukweli, yes Mark.
proceed. I can hear you.
Okay, asante. Kwa hiyo unakuta kwamba tumeupalilia muda mrefu huu utendakazi wa mahakama kwa kuingiza siasa hapo, kuona sisi ni washindi, tumeshinda na wale wameshindwa. So unakuta sometimes wajanja wale wanakitumia kichombo sasa kwa manufaa yao, lakini kiukweli majudges kulikuwa na mapungufu kwa kweli katika uamuzi wa hii kesi, na tumeshuhudia kesi nyingi ambazo zinafungamana haswa na masuala na siasa ni za kufeva kule ambako haswa upande wenye mbavu siku zote ni ile tu ya Maraga peke yake ndio ambayo ilisimama kwa upande kinzana na serikali, lakini utakuta kesi nyingi ambazo haswa zinafungamana maamuzi yanalai haswa kwa upande ule ambao haswa wako kwa power. So kiukweli mimi sina usemi mwingi ndugu yangu make hapa, kwa sababu lisilo budi hutendwa, na nakubaliana na ndugu yangu Gitonga aliposema kwamba mchimba kisima ndio uanza wewe mwenyewe utumikia mwenyewe, lakini vile vile pia kosa na kosa halileti suluhu. Kwa maana hiyo ni utendakazi wa mahakama ndio ambao mwananchi tunafaa kuangalia zaidi, kwa sababu ya chaguzi ambazo zimepita, ambazo hatujakuwa na chaguzi ambayo baada ya chaguzi na wananchi wanafanya shughuli zao tayari kufurahikia yale matunda walioyafanya, haswa kwa kumchagua kiongozi ambaye wanampenda. Unakuta mara nyingi zinaishia haswa mahakamani, unaona, na zikiishia mahakamani maamuzi sometimes yanakuwa ni kinzana, unaona. Mwisho wa siku tunakubalishwa sasa, wacha tukubali tuendelee, miaka mitano si mingi, tutafanya maamuzi baadaye, na ndio imeshatoka hivyo. So kiukweli hili jambo pia si mbaya, maana limempa msukumo kwa kufanya kazi nyingine. Nadhani ameliafiki, amezungumza kwa press conference, tumemsikiza, amesema ana siku 45 anapumzika wa Munyoro, kisha akijadili sasa kama atafanya plan B ama plan A ama plan A ama plan B. Plan A atasimama kama mgombezi. Sasa sijui katika hili kama pengine haswa mahakama haijamfungulia haswa uhuru huo, na bado haswa kisheria kwamba anahesabika amekuwa impeached. Sidhani kama kwa plan A ambayo amezungumzia kwamba itakuwa na mashiko, lakini kile ambacho naangalia ni plan B alivyoiweka kwamba ataweza kuhakikisha yeye ni miongoni wa wale wanaharakati ambao wataweza kuleta mgombezi mmoja tu ambaye ataweza kukabiliana na mheshimiwa Ruto haswa ifikapo 2027. So nadhani katika hiyo plan B inafungamana na yeye zaidi, maana hasa wengi wa wananchi walikuwa hapo, kulikuwa na haswa hii plan B ambayo alikuwa nayo. So kwa hiyo kuvunjika kwa mwiko sio mwisho wa kula ugali, watu wachachonga hata kigongo uongo, siku itapita. Asante ndugu yangu Maka.
Hey, thank you. And let's just try to just give a general view. And again, the judicial implication of this particular ruling. We've seen the judicial, I mean, there's what we call the judicial independence tested here. And the version from the government side or the supporters of the government, they're saying that the ruling shows that the court are willing to uphold Parliament's authority in the impeachment cases, but also willing to check the procedural violations by awarding damages. And they're also saying that this balances the signal, um, signals that the judiciary not simply rubber stamping political decision. That is the statement that is being made by the supporters of the government. But the truth of the matter here is there's a lot of questions that Kenyans are asking on the regards to this particular statement about the judicial independence. Bwana Msimamo, in your own words, do you think the judiciary is independent or it is controlled by the state? That is by the executive, Bwana Msimamo, based on this particular ruling. And the other question, Msimamo, that people are asking is, why is it that whenever serious particular, serious judgment or things similar to this, The president has always been leaving the country. You remember last time when people were, after the announcement of the fuel increase and people were planning demonstration, you remember, the president has been leaving the country. When these particular judgments are almost there, people are also asking that. You can give us your take on the same, Simam.
Asante. Unajua hili jambo mimi katika hizi platforms, sijui ya Benson ni ya ngapi, nilizungumza miaka hiyo ya nyuma, miaka minne na kumbukumbu kabisa, nilizungumza zaidi ya miezi 6 kwamba mbona naona dalili ya kwamba parliament imetiwa ganjani, judiciary imetiwa ganjani kwa wale majudges na mazuri mazuri yote ambao waliweza kupewa majudges wale. Nikaona sasa hapa ni nini? So kwa kweli sasa hivi imejidhihirisha wazi kwamba judiciary haiko huru na haiwezi kuwa huru kwa sababu wale wanatundikwa mle wana urafiki na si tajriba wala si mwongozo wa katiba. So unaikuta kwamba haliathiri tu judiciary, linaathiri mpaka ndani ya mawaziri, linaathiri mpaka ndani ya bunge. Kwa katika hilo kwamba hapa executive by all means inahusika mazima, kwa sababu ukiangalia kupitishwa kwa finances bill zenye ambazo zimepitishwa, wabunge wamezipitisha haraka haraka, kana kwamba na mwisho wa siku zinatuumiza ukitazama hivi. So ni kwa faida ya nani? Then unakuta kwamba sasa jambo kama hili ndio linanadiwa sasa haswa kwa media. Unaona kama hivi ambavyo unasema kwamba wanafurahikia kwamba maamuzi yale yalikuwa sawa, ndivyo sawa, wamempa 50 million sijui za nini sasa, kwa sababu sijui hasa ukitathmini hiyo miaka yote amekaa nje, kama ni mshahara wake wa kila mwezi, still bado hiyo pesa ni kidogo mno kwa hesabu zangu mimi. Sasa sijui hiyo 50 million ilikuwa ni ya kufanya nini wenye ambao wamepropose, labda utanieleza zaidi Mark. So unakuta katika hiyo hali haya maamuzi kwa kweli unakuta kwamba executive inahusika mazima, na inahusika kwa njia nyingine ya pili, kwamba waliogombana katika ofisi ni huyu mtu na mdogo wake, mwingine ni rais, mwingine ni mdogo wa rais. So wametokota, kwa sababu ukiangalia sababu ambazo zimeletwa haswa za kimsingi za kumuondoa huyu haswa, kwa kweli hazijamwathiri mwananchi kwa vyovyote vile, bali ni kukosana wao wenyewe lugha. So ukitazama hivyo lazima executive itahusika, kwa sababu hao ndio ambao wamegombana. So hii kesi ni kwa ajili ya wao wawili, mtu na kiongozi mwenzake haswa mkubwa wake. So kwa kweli executive lazima imehusika kwa maamuzi ambao haswa yametoka na hayajamfavor haswa huyu Gachagua, kutokana na kwamba haswa hiyo procedure kivyovyote pale, participation na kila kitu kilifanywa kwa haraka mno, hata kama kilifuata kilizingatia sheria, but kilifanywa kwa makusudi kwamba kifuate sheria ili iwe ngumu haswa kuipata haki huyu mtu na litimie lile lengo ambalo haswa limekusudiwa, na lengo likatimia, na ndio maana haswa sasa hivi wanafurahia mambo kama haya. Kaka pili, mmeniuliza la mwisho kwamba mbona inakaa viongozi wa taifa ikionekana maandamano hayupo, basi na mambo kama haya yanakuwa hayupo. Hii inaonyesha wazi kwamba, ndugu yangu, kwamba ile ni kutoacha alama, zile footprints. Chochote kitakachotokea, kuna wale ambao wameweza kuwekwa pale mbele. Mwisho wa siku kama kitatokea cha kutokea, basi iwe kwamba kuna wao ndo ambao wataonekana haswa machoni haswa. Kwa mfano ile wakati wa maandamano ya Gen Z, wakati ule Gachagua alikuwa front line, akaonekana zaidi haswa na yule jamaa wetu Koome wa pili wa polisi, kama tunakumbuka wakati huo. So unakuta yeye alikuwa hivyo, chochote kama kingetokea basi wakuulizwa ni wao, kwa sababu walikuwa hapa. Yeye ambaye hayupo ataulizwaje na yeye hakuwa hapa? So it's like kwamba ni yule jamaa bingwa ambaye anatengeneza mambo yake, lakini hata uwayo wa kuweza kumfuatilia inakuwa ngumu haswa kuweza kupata, kwa sababu ukifuatilia mwisho wa siku utagundua kuna watu ambao wamehusika na yeye yuko pale, hata kama kwamba yeye ndiye aliogonga gogo na akawa anakaa mahali ya kusikiza mlio. Kwa hiyo mimi nadhani nitaweza kuzungumzia katika hiyo hali, ndugu yangu Mark. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simamo. I don't know whether you've seen the comments of certain lawyers. Both, let me just start by Eric Kanjama, who is the current LSK president. He was actually in one of this television, and he said that he has emphasized that the ruling exposes a contradiction. Parliament's impeachment powers were upheld, yet Gashagua's rights were violated. For him, this shows that Kenya's constitutional framework is still fragile and that the parliament must be compelled to respect the due process. He also clarified that as things still stand, Rigathi Gachagua is free to vie for any position that he wants to vie for. Nelson Harvey, who is also the former LSK president, he argued that the damages awarded prove that the impeachment was politically motivated and that they did not, according to his take, he was impeached because of his political stand. He frames the ruling as a half victory for Gachagua, insisting that the judiciary should have gone further to nullify the impeachment based on part of their, findings, which included fair hearing was not awarded to him. Ahmed Nasir, who is also a senior counsel, also came out to say that, Ahmed Nasir is one of those lawyers who are known for their sharp commentary. And he is suggesting that the ruling reflects the judicial that reflects the judicial compromise, protecting parliament's authority while throwing Gachagua a lifeline with compensation. He sees this. He's saying that this is like evidence of political influence in the judiciary, something that he himself has also been having problems with. On the other hand, the likes of Senator Ojenda, who is the part of the council team for the government side, is saying that the ruling he leaned on the ruling to argue that the parliament acted lawfully, but he stresses that the damages shows leaders' right can't be trampled, and that is where the question is coming. Well, if he is understanding the fact that the parliament, of course, may be acted lawfully according to his statement, but he's also speaking about the damages. That the damages shows that the leader's right cannot be trampled. Would you deny somebody his right and then you come out to be compensating him? That is the question people are asking. Bwana Msimamo, maybe your own take on how you understand this better as as we move on. People are asking a lot of questions on this. And on the same, we are seeing the pro-Ruto legal minds or the government allied lawyers. They're arguing that the ruling is a clear vindication of parliament's supremacy. And they also say that the damages are minor compared to the bigger principle. Leaders can be impeached if they breach the trust. The only question people are asking again is, was there due, was the due process followed? Was the rights of this particular individual, were they respected? Those are the questions that are coming out. I saw the judges, William Ouka and Lenaola, their stand in this ruling. I saw them giving their views. They're saying that this ruling reinforces that impeachment is a political process grounded in constitutional authority, not just a legal technicality. So, this particular ruling has exposed a lot And the biggest worry, like I'd said before, is will this particular judgment used as reference? If so, then there is a probability that many Kenyans will have problems getting justice, because whenever some rights are violated, whenever you're not given a fair hearing, then what does that mean? You will be awarded, you'll be given some money as a way of compensation. Those it doesn't really make sense. And I think sometimes we need to be genuine enough by making certain pronouncement, especially in this particular field of judges. It really brings a lot of questions, and it makes the people to even ask whether this particular the judiciary can be trusted, because what is coming out is confusing. People are coming out with their different version of explanation on this particular matter. The LSK president is giving his version, saying that by him not given a chance to be heard, that was, according to the statement from these particular judges, that was a ground for nullification of this impeachment. Nelson Harvey is saying the same, that it doesn't make sense that you not respect somebody's right and then you come out to award him for the damages. And should we have another experience of this, we will have instances where people's rights will not be respected and then they will be given money. It is not right, it is not good. And so the constitution has to be respected. We saw the many opposition supporters, they're seeing the damages as a proof that Gachagua was unfairly targeted, fueling claims of state persecution. And most of them are arguing that the judiciary is afraid to fully confront the executive power. That is the truth of the matter from what is coming out from these particular supporters. Because the question here is, well, as per the views of the judges, there was no fair hearing. He was not accorded that particular right. And that should be a reason or the ground for this particular, you know, uh, nullification, but it was not done. So the question is, would they have been compromised? And if so, why would they get to that extent? Remember, they swore, carry the Bible if they're Christians, so if they're Muslims, they carry the Quran, and possibly before the people said that they would respect and follow the constitution. Why would they, for example, if suppose it is true, allow themselves to be used in making presidents which are not right for the country? We've seen the supporters of the government coming out to celebrate the ruling as a victory for institutions, saying it shows Kenya's democracy is maturing and that leaders are not above the law. That is the other version of the people who are within or the supporters of the government. But what worries me is the fact that some Kenyans, for example, the ones on the government, say they're seeing this as a victory. Well, but what if they get to an instance where they will also be in need of this particular justice? Remember the comments of Rigathi Gachagua when Raila Amolo Odinga was having similar cases. He came out to speak negatively, and so he is experiencing the same. Well, this is not about an individual. This is about the country. If bad laws are made today, they are going to influence the future. If any of you will have issues and they present their cases before the courts of law, this would be used as a reference. So this is something that should not be celebrated in a way that looks like, or should not be coming to give comments that he spoke negatively, let him experience the same. No, let us look at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture here is the country. The bigger picture here is these are laws that are being made and they would be used as reference. So we have to be very truthful on how we reason again. We've also seen other Kenyans as skeptical, viewing the ruling as a political theatric, a compromise that avoids rocking the system while keeping both sides armed with talking points. I mean, it's so funny that some people are having this particular, you know, discussion in a different perspective. This is a serious thing. It is a serious thing because there is a lot that is involved over here, and Kenyans should have the opportunity to look into this particular issue, to give their views as well. I hope here is saying that Ruto has got power and money, and that's why his followers worship him. Power is never permanent. I agree with the fact that power is never permanent. It is true. We've seen the other governments, we've seen governments come and go. We've seen governments misusing power when they're in power. We've seen leaders being mistreated by certain leaders. It is not good. It is not right. The country is bigger than in this particular individual. The rules of the nation are supposed to be applied equally without fear. And again, the law should not be that it's for a certain class of people and others are not. How can real Kenyans rejoice in Flo's verdict? Yeah, it really surprises. It really surprises. And that's why I'm very particular. Let us not look this as a win to the government and a lose to Rigathi Gachagua. These are laws which are being made. These are references that are going to affect the people, or Kenyans will be having issues presented before the court. Because if we celebrate this, then somebody is going to be denied justice in the coming days based on this particular ruling, based on this particular confusion that was brought forth by the judges. Yeah, so maybe if I look into the political narrative of it and the 2027 succession, I can say that, what does this ruling mean for Kenya's political future? The government side, Ruto camp celebrate the ruling as a proof of strong institution, while the mere truth is there's nothing like strong institution over here. These were people who are compromised and gave a ruling that is not as per what the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya speaks about. The opposition side, uh, or the allies, they are weaponizing the damages award as a proof of persecution. But Gashagua's rich support base are also not happy. They're saying that their leader is not being given, was not given a fair hearing, and therefore there's nothing wrong that he did. So I would like to say that it is not easy. It is not easy, and these particular moves by both the arms of the government really affects the future of this particular nation in one way or another. And it is my urge and humble request that the leaders of this nation, whether in different sectors or the arms of government, should come out clear and have a stand that is going to be of betterment to the people of Kenya. Let them come out and give particular whenever they're giving particular decisions or making particular decisions, let it be one that is following and respecting the laws of the Republic of Kenya. That would be my take on this particular issue of regarding Gachagua and the ruling by the courts on regards to that particular statement. And I would like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to our good friend Iho J7D. Thank you so much for your time and for giving us your views. Our good friend Gitonga, thank you so much for finding time to join us. Sijui ulipotelea wapi. We are happy to see you back. I saw Judith Karitha. Thank you so much for also finding time to be with us and to join us. We appreciate so much. Brenda Obedi was also with us. We appreciate so much your time and just coming out to give us your views. We appreciate so much. And, everyone else who joined us, I want to remind you that this is Brother Benson Media. We're also live on our sister channel, Kikao na Sahuti. If you're watching from either platforms, we request you to like and subscribe because if you do so, it is a way of supporting us. Na sisi hapa tutasema ni asante. Allow me to take this opportunity to wish you all and to appreciate everyone's time and effort joining us this evening. We say a big, big thank you. And over here, we do say that your opinion counts. We do have conversations which are happening in the Republic of Kenya and the entire world. Yeah, so thank you so much. And we appreciate your time. May God bless each and everyone. And as usual, kindly like and subscribe because if you do so, it is a way of supporting us. We'll be continuing this particular, views as time goes by, and we will be monitoring to see what will be happening in the near future. We're always here to give our views, and of course, to to point out on issues which are affecting the people of Kenya. Our main goal is the betterment of the Republic of Kenya. We are not in any way politically aligned. We are simply giving independent views. Thank you so much, and may God bless each and everyone who joined. See you tomorrow as we will be proceeding with these particular conversations. Have a blessed night, a blessed morning, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening from wherever you're watching us from. Thank you so much, and God bless you.